Welcome to A Second Helping with Allison Bartow, a wedding photography podcast with a focus on second shooting. On this episode, we have more beams on the dance floor, poison ivy on the golf course, dramatic parents, and the groom's brother makes me cry. Hi, and welcome back to another wedding recap episode. So for today's wedding, I am shooting with Pat again. I shot with Pat last weekend. This will be our 13th wedding working together. We are shooting at the Loft at Landis Creek. I am going to stop by the bride prep location, grab my cards from last weekend, and then head over to groom prep, and then we will head over to the Loft at Landis Creek. For this wedding, Pat sent me over two documents a couple days ago. One is a copy of his contract, and the other is sort of an info sheet that he sends to his clients. So I always love looking at this kind of stuff because I love to see how different people conduct their business, whether it's photographers or other small business owners. I just always find it interesting. And I think you can learn things you want to do, things you don't want to do. So Pat and I do things pretty differently in a lot of areas. So this info sheet that he gave me was kind of too much information and not enough information at the same time. And what I mean by that is I had a huge bridal party. So 6 bridesmaids, 2 junior bridesmaids, 2 flower girls, a ring bearer, all these people, multiple parents, and I have all their first and last names. But then under the timeline section, nothing is filled out. So great, I have all of these people's names, but I have no idea when or where I'm going to see them or kind of how the day is going to unfold. Additionally, something that's on there is just a boilerplate checklist, a shot list. So people are in different camps with this. I'm in the camp of I don't like giving the bride and groom a shot list. I used to own a flower shop, and I think the best flower arrangements happened when the client kind of gave us an idea of like what the occasion was, an overall feeling, and then the florists would work their magic with all of the flowers that looked their best and just had creative control. Those clients were always the happiest. The clients that struggled the most were the ones that came in and told us exactly what to do, how many stems of this they wanted, how many stems of that. And they're not floral designers. I had amazing floral designers working in the shop. So those were people that would have more questions or wouldn't be as happy because they had created this whole idea in their head of what this arrangement was going to look like. And I think that translates to the wedding day as well. We've been to way more weddings than most brides and grooms have. So to give them a shot checklist of things that they want us to document on their wedding day is kind of tough. And additionally, depending on when you give them the shot list, they may not have all of the details of their day yet. And to me, they're a little bit silly. You know, they've got things on there like dad walking bride down the aisle. And it's like, no one needs to tell a photographer to take a picture of that. We're going to be there. We're not going to be anywhere else during that time. And we know to photograph that. So there's just a lot of things in there that are kind of understood and going to happen anyway. But you can set yourself up for exposure because you now are contracted to provide all of these shots that they have checked off. And I find it, one, distracting during the day if I have to keep thinking back to like, oh, I promised them I would get X shot or Y shot. And it's something I have to do. It's distracting. And then the other thing is if there are things on the checklist and there isn't a timeline provided and things start to go haywire and no one tells you they're about to go do something and, you know, the DJ doesn't tell you and you miss something, because that can happen. If you don't have a signed checklist as part of your contract, it's going to be a lot harder for someone to come back and try to hold you responsible for that. So I just think it's a little bit more protective of the photographer not to be contracted to individual shots. So that's my take on that. And honestly, I've never found them beneficial. I find that throughout the course of booking a couple, you're going to have a questionnaire normally that answers a lot of like general questions that give you a good idea of what the day is going to look like. And then through other emails or just conversations, you can find out if they're doing anything that's special to them or important or a family tradition. So you're going to know what to look out for. And then by building out that timeline, you're going to know exactly what's going on that they want to first, like with their dad and their brothers, and different items that you'll know to look out for naturally, but aren't exactly contracted as a shot by shot list. So that's my long take on it. And I'd actually like to have conversations with some photographers that maybe think the other way, because I'm sure they have really valid points for why they do it. And maybe they feel somehow that they're more protected by having the bride and groom tell them what shots to provide. So, all right, I'll check in after the wedding. Hello, 10:30. I'm on the way home. It was an interesting wedding. I went into the bride and groom's house and it was wall-to-wall bridesmaids. She had 6 bridesmaids, 2 junior bridesmaids, 2 flower girls, and moms there. So I grabbed the cards and made my way over to groom prep. And then when I walked in there, it was like really quiet. They hadn't gotten dressed yet. And it was just pretty quiet. So they decided to get dressed, and there wasn't too much to shoot. I got some macro shots of like the engraved cufflinks, picture of the cigars that were given as gifts, and the one groomsman showed up fully dressed, which is fine. And he was like apologizing. He's like, I was overly prepared. I showed up dressed. No one else is dressed. And I was like, oh, that's, it's fine. And he said something else. And then he looks at me and he goes, you have a really nice home. Thank you for having me. And I like looked around and I was like, me? Oh, I don't live here. Mind you, I am wearing 2 cameras and dressed all in black. And someone looks at him and they're like, JT, she's the photographer. So it was really funny. And then he also left 15 minutes before everybody else, and we were laughing that he was going to get there after everybody else, and I think he did. So I met the groom has one brother. His brother, that's whose house we were at, and then his dad was nice as well. The bride is very sweet, and just a difficult situation. When I got there to her place, they said, well, her bio mom and her foster mom. And I said, her foster mom? And they said, her foster mom. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like you don't hear of biological parents and foster parents being like in the same situation. Like, I don't know. I'm just used to hearing step parents. So apparently her parents struggled with substance abuse and addiction, and when she was 16, she had to go into foster care. I think they may have gone away, and they got help, got cleaned up, and they're back in her life, but she's still close with her foster parents. So it was a unique situation. She had foster siblings there, and I guess the biological parents and the foster parents maybe don't always get along, but everyone seemed to be nice to each other today. We got to the venue and it was sort of just chaos. I get that people sometimes like to have large bridal parties. I don't like it. It's not just that it's hard to shoot, it's that it often feels to me like less personal. I just feel like it just feels like a lot of people, and it doesn't feel as special. And I know that's not always the case, but I just feel like it's so many people, and it's just it just doesn't feel as intimate. So it was just like everybody's everywhere, and you don't know who anybody is. And so we're supposed to do the first look for just her dads and her brothers, and we had one of the bridesmaids go to get them, and it, without exaggeration, it was like close to 20 minutes. And we don't know what was going on. And then finally they came down. The first half of the day was frustrating because it was a lot of that energy where people are like, they need to be the center of attention and it's not about them. So it's just like weird comments and like digging their heels in on stuff. And it's just not the time or the place. So it felt like there was a lot of that going on. And I'm sure that some of that has to do with the family dynamics. But we got like the dads down. We had 2 dads and an uncle, I think, for a first look. And we're trying to line them up. And the one dad says, well, I don't know why I have to do this. I've been looking at her for 29 years. And I just looked at him and I was like, it's kind of a special day for her. She wanted to do this. So he's not an asshole, but it's like, it's probably nerves. There's, a lot going on. But it's just a shame that for some people, that's how it manifests itself. Just like weird comments. And then it was like, all day Pat kept saying it was herding cats, and it was just like trying to get these brothers down, and then the moms were trying to come out and the bridesmaids, and so it was just trying to keep everybody, and I was trying to be really aware of like the time because there wasn't a timeline that I knew about, so I just kept trying to figure out like when the best time to do things would be. So I said, well, now that we did the first look, I'm going to sneak away and try to get these groom's portraits done. So I was able to get them out and find a spot, get that taken care of, just so that was off the plate, off the checklist for the day. It was pretty hot out. I moved pretty quickly, which the guys definitely appreciated because they were in nice suits with vests and all of that. I didn't love the colors. Like it just was more of a winter look. It was like navy blue suits, dark red ties, and then the bridesmaids were in red. So it was fine, but it just felt more winter to me. And ceremony was a little late to get started. Flower girls had a little bit of drama earlier. The little ring bearer was so cute. And then the ceremony had them looking like into direct light. So Pat actually shot off-camera flash for the outdoor ceremony. And then I just made do with what I was shooting. I got a lot of like close-up shots because I think his wide shots will be better with his lighting. Very short ceremony. Her brother officiated. He didn't know to step away for the first kiss, so he's like behind them for the first kiss. And then we did portraits, and the bride has a large family because she has 2 families. And at one point she goes, well, is my real family here? And in my mind, I'm like, I don't think that's how we call them that. I think we should stick with biological. But everyone seemed okay. So we did her big family portraits. And again, it was just like trying to get people to come up. They were just like being difficult, and it's just cooperate, it's the bride and groom's day. They don't need added stress. So we go through all of her family setups, and then Pat has the bridesmaids come up, and he's doing the bridesmaids. And I was like, Pat, did we do the groom's family? And he was like, what? And I almost didn't want to bother him because I was like, it's a lot and everyone's trying to focus when you're going through formals. And so I was like, did we do the groom's family? Pat's like, oh my God, we didn't. So he was like, thank you so much. And so we switched gears and we got his family done. And it was fun. It was hard. People were squinting and looking into the sun, and the kids couldn't do it. And we were trying to do the close your eyes, 1, 2, 3, smile. We did our best. And then the poor bride, yesterday, she stubbed her toe so hard that her entire toenail came off. And so she like a Band-Aid, then the Band-Aid came off when she was trying to change her shoes. I felt bad for her. I found a little spot like between some trees, and we had a nice breeze going. So I asked Pat if he wanted to do like a veil shot because she had a cathedral length veil, and it came out really nice. We have a few options for that, so I was happy about that. Ceremony, it was at 4:30, and then cocktail hour started at 5. So they didn't really get to cocktail hour. I didn't get any grip and grins. When I walked in, everyone was seated at their tables already. So we just had to go through all the family formals and then trying to get portraits of them. So we did a couple different spots. We went over to like a bridge and got some shots of some tree, poison ivy all over the venue. I'm so sensitive to poison ivy, and I can spot it from like the football field away. And so I kept spotting that. I just feel like you would have that under control at a golf club. But introductions were introductions. It was hard to set up lights. We had the big beams coming through like 4 spots around the dance floor, so it was just really hard. Pat had his like bungee to the one post, and then he moved it, and then we had 2 lights in 1 stand, and then other stuff. So the maid of honor speech wasn't great. It was short, but then God bless her. She was like standing there, and when the best man came up, she was still standing there, and I was like, "You can go sit down," and just because no one ever stands there, and she didn't look like she really wanted to be there. She just didn't know what to do. So she went and sat down, and then the groom's brother started speaking, and he got choked up. I wasn't ready for it at all. I got choked up. He just started talking about like how much she meant to him, and that's, you know, his daughter, that she was the best stepmom, and I started crying, like tearing up. It was very, very sweet. And so we had first dances, and the bride danced with both fathers, and then the groom's dancing with his mom, and like the one father has to like get up and walk through the room to go get water, and it's like, just sit down. It's parent dances, sit down. And then when they were wrapping up, then the one mom had to walk through. It's just that kind of stuff that irks me, because it's just like, just behave, you know? It's the kid's big day. The DJ seemed like he was grumpy. I really liked the guy Nicholas who worked there. He was really, really great. And we went and did some of the guys wanted to do like pictures on the putting green. So we went up there and did a few options with that. And we went back inside. They had dinner, and then we went outside to light up. There's like a tree that's like hollow in the center. So we lit that up with a red light inside the tree and did some options there. And then we had them come around to the other side, and we did. Then use the left lane to keep left to US 202 South Fort West Chester. We had them go around the tree to the other side, and we did a silhouette, and we had like a light going up the tree and then a light pointed at the tree, and then it took us a little bit to get the rim light that we wanted on them. She was pretty easy to backlight, and you know, with her dress it was glowing, but he was in his dark suit, so it took a while, but we finally got what we wanted. He was also taller than her, so posing, like, you had to do some different things so that he was a little bit closer to her head. They were pretty patient. And again, I show them the pictures when we're out there doing that kind of stuff, because all they know is that they're standing in the dark in front of a tree with flashes going off. But then when I showed them what we were doing, they were like, oh, okay. So I just think that that's an appropriate time to show them. The night went kind of fast. I didn't get to do macro shots. I never even saw her ring. I think I have her invitation in my bag because I wanted to do something with it, but it just, I don't know how the night went so fast. It was a buffet. I don't know if that happened. I don't know why it went so fast. Cocktail, maybe because we like weren't at cocktail hour at all. I don't know. Just, you know, we went right from like the ceremony and portraits, and then inside, and we were like hurriedly setting up light stands because we had introductions coming. So it just felt a little faster, and then we were just rolled from like one thing into the next. Pat made a few inappropriate comments, per the usual. There were other things. I know that there were other things. There were a few moments where I was just like, oh my gosh. Oh, good old JT. We lost him when we were trying to do like portraits and stuff. We had to find him and wrangle him back in. And that was it. I didn't get to do, well, I did some creative things. I went outside and went up like on the hill and shot the venue from outside. and had the flashes going off and tried to get some different options and different lighting for lighting up the side of the structure, and then having the lights inside, because it was another Tudor structure, so it was white with all those like brown beams on the outside, and then there were the string lights inside and on the beams and stuff. So we'll see how those came out. So we're doing a lot with flashes, so I guess that's good. I feel like I didn't do like any like reflection shots or any. I brought my prism that I wanted to use, and then I didn't. Everyone was pretty well behaved. The cake, we had the assistant Bree pointed out, the cake was in the middle of the row of chafing dishes, which is really odd, because then everyone's like getting their dinner and walking right past the cake. And then they were like late to clear that. So she was like hurrying to clear, the one venue lady who's a little cranky was like hurrying to clear that because we needed to cut the cake. Oh, and the venue manager guy, Nicholas, that I liked, told us that they had to cut the cake by a certain time because the downstairs bar has a band that starts playing and they're really loud. So I guess once the band starts playing, they want the DJ to just keep playing music so that you aren't disturbed by the band. So I think they want to get like the more quiet things like the cake cutting done before that happens. So we were on the timeline with that, and then that was the reason we were doing that. And then she wanted to do a glow stick exit. So it was those like foam DJ glowing things. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a disaster because they're not bright. It's lights inside of a foam tube. So we went outside and there was ambient light because they had like 2 sconce lights on the building and then 2 at the pillars at the bottom of the stairs. And so I brought an off-camera flash down there and we exposed for that. But it was just like, when all the guests came out, they lined the stairs and then they came down, they were spilling out and they're waving the glow sticks. So we've got some shots, but it's not like a sparkler exit, but I hate them anyway. So hopefully she's happy enough. That was it. The bride and groom were well behaved, polite, nice. The groom kept his jacket on all night, which is always impressive to me. I didn't see them drinking a lot. They didn't complain. They like kind of apologized. She was apologizing for her family. And that was it. So the drama was more like with the parents and all that. I feel like the night ended better than the day started because it was just chaos in the beginning. Like no one seemed to know what they were doing. And I don't know if it was so many people that it was like no one felt like responsible to keep things moving along. I'll download the pictures and see how they turned out. I'll be back.
Welcome back. I have downloaded and reviewed the photos. I took 1,370 photos over 7.5 hours, which came out to 183 an hour, which is a good number, I think, for this wedding especially. Things that went well, didn't go as well, and changes I want to do moving forward. So things that went well. Again, bride and groom were very nice. The groom's dad was very nice. His mom was nice as well. The bouquet was real flowers, and they were beautiful. I did a little bit of creative lighting for the cake shots again, and I liked that. I think that they will like those. Pat seemed to like them. Additionally, they had those like foam glow sticks that all the DJs are using these days. And she was really into those. So I have a lot of reception party dancing with those in it that look good. I experimented with a lot of different like motion blur, slower shutter speeds, just different things. No flash. And then she had done, rather than a sparkler exit, she did those glow sticks. So we worked pretty hard to get like the lighting set up. But it's hard because a sparkler is just super bright. And those glow sticks really aren't. Like they're whatever material inside of a thick piece of foam. So they're not kicking off enough light to really show up bright. But I think we still have like a shot for her that is what she wanted. So that went well. Things that didn't go as well. I mentioned this before. I didn't love their color scheme. It was red, white, and blue, and it was like a very wintry red, white, and blue. It just felt not appropriate for the season. It like if it had been a 4th of July wedding, then at least I would have been like, oh, okay, that's your theme. But it felt a little too harsh. And then her dress was like, it was more of like a winter dress. Like the fabric and the color just looked more like it would have made more sense in a winter setting. The groom was significantly taller than the bride, which wasn't a big deal except for like portraits. So posing them was a little bit more challenging. Pat, again, likes to do mostly camera aware portraits. I did a couple where I posed them a little bit differently, and I like how they came out because by turning him and her, I was able to get them like more on the same level. So I thought that went well, but it was just challenging. We had tough lighting situations. We had a lot of bright light and shadow happening at the same time. So at the ceremony, up at the altar, bright, harsh, direct sun in their faces. And then in the back, it was all in shadow. So where I was capturing people coming up and then turning to go down the aisle, it was all shadow. And then when you turned to get like the back of them, then it was overexposed. So you had to make some quick adjustments. Same thing for introductions inside. They went from a shadowy area into an area where there were windows with natural light and then back into a shaded area. And the I always like feel bad or get annoyed when people like just keep spending money. Like you can see that they just like, and I've been guilty of that too, where you like just get excited, but you just like keep going on Etsy. They're buying stuff and buying stuff. And so at the end of the night, the venue manager lady was pulling everything out from underneath the one table, and there was this big wooden sign. It was like, "Welcome to the wedding of, bride and groom." And I'm looking at it. I'm like, I don't think I've seen that before right now, because I always, with Pat, make sure that I'm getting all the detail shots for him and decor and venue things. And then the bride and groom walked over and they looked at it and they were like, has this been here all night under the table? So they bought it. And it was a pretty decent sized sign. So they bought it and then it just never was put out. So just kind of a waste of money. The other thing was the off-camera lighting for the tree shot. We got it. We got the shot that like Pat had envisioned. I didn't love it because it kind of looks like a volcanic, like lava eruption in the tree. But I did like the silhouette picture that we did on the other side of the tree. So I thought that came out nicely. I also didn't get any macro shots of her ring. I mentioned this earlier that the reception seemed to like fly by like in an oddly fast way. And I don't know how that happened. So moving forward, I want to get a little bit better. I'm getting there. I'm remembering to put my ear protection in a little bit earlier. I'm trying to make cocktail hour like the signifier for me to do that. I did better this wedding. And then I just have to be cognizant of it. And then certain things, like if I want to do macro shots of the ring, like kind of plan ahead. Like I guess earlier in the day, if I realize that, the lead didn't get it and wants me to get more photos, like kind of then be more intentional about like coming up with a certain time in the night to make sure I get it. Because if not, you just get carried away with all the naturally occurring events and you miss it. And then I also just want to make sure that I am shooting less redundant shots with the lead shooter. Because I fall victim to speeches and first dances because it's literally the moment that everybody in the room is staring at the dance floor with the two people that are dancing, and you just keep shooting it. And I get some shots of family members, but I want to be getting more and not all the same dancing shots as the lead photographer. I want to get some of the dancing also so that they've got like a couple more options, and it's always just tricky to get those. But I feel like I probably provide more photos than the lead needs of that. And same thing with speeches. So I just want to be more mindful of certain times during the wedding when I really can be pointed like in the other direction. I think that's it. all in all, it ended up being good. I think that they're really going to like their photos. And as I said, they were lovely. The parents were drama, but that happens. If you're still listening, it means you made it through the whole episode. Thank you. If you haven't already, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening. And if you would give us an honest rating and review, I would love that as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to A Second Helping. Please like and subscribe.
We could fly so high, so high.